Hi, it's Junior Ogunyemi here, inspirational speaker and author of the book How to Be a Student Entrepreneur. I love meeting and talking to inspiring people, people that I can use as mentors and people that have gone ahead of us and lived life. And one phase that we're probably all going to go through in life is the parenting phase, when you now have to pass the baton on and raise another individual and raise another great leader. And we found an amazing champion of that, and she goes by the name of Karlene Rickard. How are you, Karlene?
I'm blessed. Thank you very much.
It's a pleasure to have you with us here today in this interview. Thank you so much for your time. Um, now, I like to dub you the parenting guru, the parenting expert, because as far as I'm concerned, I haven't seen anybody or met anybody that can make parenting sound so easy and sum it all up. Could you please tell us a little bit about your experience in the parenting field and how you came to be where you are?
Well, I've been working in community for a long time, working with children. I'm a co-founder of a supplementary school in London and an infant primary school in Jamaica. And I've done voluntary work with children, but I'm also a science teacher. And, going through a journey of illness, the good Lord give me a fantastic parenting program. I've trained in various parenting programs. I've delivered parenting programs and I've trained up facilitators, and I've done a lot of work around family and parents because I'm just interested in parents and how they work with their children. And I've written an A to Z of parenting book.
Now, I've actually read your book, Aids to the Parenting. It's fantastic, and it's amazing how simple you can just literally put the whole concept of parenting and tips that people can just use straight away in the book. So thank you for sharing that book with us. Have you got any other feedback from the book, or is there anyone else that's picked up and your programs as well? How's it been received?
Well, yes, I mean, I'm out in the Caribbean because of the sun and my health and so on. And on the particular island, I'm going through the process now where the chief education officer seen the book and the program. Well, first of all, I went to do some voluntary work in a school, and once the teachers and the head and everybody, they said, no, it's not fair for them alone to have this wonderful resource.
Wow.
They need it for other people. So we were then pointed to the chief education officer, and she said, no, it's not fair for us alone to have it. We have to point to social work. And she said, no, we have to include special needs. So the three of them came together, they met with me, they loved the work, and they want to include it on the whole island.
Wow.
Hopefully later on in the year I'll come back and train up individuals. I also left the chief education officer with a copy of the book, and when I went back to the second meeting, she said she was in a crisis situation, she didn't know what to do, and she picked up the book, and there was the answer. And I just smiled because in my experience in London, whenever I went to see head teachers, they said, this book is fantastic. Whenever there's a problem with parents, I just turn into this book and it would give me an answer. And I just got to giving parents copies of this book.
It really is an amazing book, and that's an amazing result that progress you've got with the book. It's but I'm actually shocked because the book is that fantastic and is that straight to the point and excellent. So great testimony to you, and I hope that goes even further. And who knows, you very soon it seems that you're going to be reforming all the Caribbean islands with your parenting tips, and hopefully that will also reach the whole ends of the earth, because I think everybody needs it. It's parenting is a crucial stage, because like I said at the start, it is that stage where adults start to pass on that baton to people, and I don't think a lot of people actually take it seriously, the influence that they have on young people. Um, it can be quite difficult because having a child, bringing someone else into this world, they have a mind of their own, and I think most parents always have that trouble in the sort of early stages, and they have the terrible twos. What advice could you give to parents for, like, when they're dealing with their children from an early stage? How could they get off to the best start?
So important to understand the developmental stages because you need to know what you should be doing at different stages and be mindful of what you're doing because more is caught than taught.
Mm.
So those are two elements is important, and always listening, listening, and not just listening in a passive way, but active listening, listening, watching what the child is doing. And so communication is so vital in the whole process of parenting and appreciating and rewarding.
Wow, I like that. More is caught than is taught. I think we really underestimate the influence that we have around children, just by the way we live our lives, the things that we say, and yeah, I think it's so true. They do pick up a lot more than what we think or what we
Mm.
want them to pick up even. Um, what's your views on corporate punishment? You know, smacking to discipline a child. Some people say, you know, I grew up taking licks and getting hit, and it works well for me. So it's and other people say, you know, this is what starts the kids on a huge, terrible emotional cycle. What would be your
I,
advice?
I don't really advocate it, but you need to set boundaries. But if by chance you should take that course, make sure you're not applying any kind of physical punishment when you're angry, and be careful where you will be actually applying any kind of smack. And it needs to be gentle, but it's not something I advocate. But boundaries needs to be set.
Mm. So definitely don't do it when you're angry. I guess it's meant to be something done out of love. It's discipline, isn't it?
Yeah, lots of parents, as you said, have said, they've had it and it not hurt. But a lot of times, corporal punishment is applied when parents are angry. And,
Mm.
I've dealt with children counseling, and they are bullies and they're violent, and they say because their parents used to do that. And we don't want to create bullies and violent children in this society, so one has to be very careful.
Yeah, it's so true. It's so true. How about
But
sorry.
everyone wants attention. We want attention more than anything else. And if we
Mm.
start to give attention to our children and set boundaries, then we'll find that it won't be necessary to be physically punishing them.
Yeah.
Boundaries, giving them attention, telling them that you care for them and you love them, not because they're beautiful, just because they're beautiful or because they're clever, but because of who they are.
So most of the
And
acting up
that's
that children do
precious.
is really a cry for attention and a love from the parents.
Mm,
Yeah, I work with lots of young children, and I noticed that as well. I mean, loads of them, the teachers sometimes say that they suffer from ADHD, and but when I work with them,
yes.
especially at the football coaching academies, they don't have the all of a sudden the symptoms don't ever show up there,
Mm,
because they get a sort of sense of attention from them, and when they don't get attention, that's when they start acting up. But I notice whether it's positive or negative, they still get attention, and I think
yes.
that's what they're craving for. So it's quite remarkable actually.
Because we as adults, we crave attention.
Mm,
Everybody craves attention. And if you're getting attention, if you're not getting attention, you're going to create a situation where you get attention. So if you mean physically abused, then you'll go for it because you want attention.
yeah, it's so true. So I guess we've got to give them positive attention, and they won't try to seek negative attention.
That's right.
Wonderful. So let's move a bit further on now, talking about in the teen years. You know, we have the terrible twos, and then I know a lot of parents always talk about the terrible teens. I think teenage years are a pivotal year for children and teenagers, and also the parents, because um, that's when most of the key decisions are made. And it's not a case of, right, you've made this mistake, we'll fix it tomorrow. Sometimes mistakes that teenagers make, they can also live with it for the rest of their lives, can't they?
Yes. But it's a case of taking time out with them, and journeying with them, and taking an interest and listening to them and being fair and not being judgmental or critical, but taking special time with them, even at that age. Because if you don't, then they'll turn to peer groups or other sources that will give them that kind of attention again
Mm,
and help them to make the journey to the next stage of their lives,
mm,
and show them that you love them,
yeah, I
and
totally agree.
make sure you treat them as growing up to become adults and not wanting to make the decisions for them or bullying them into doing what you think is the right thing. Because everyone has a purpose in life, and you may want a fantastic doctor or lawyer, whatever it is, as your child, but that may not be what God wants that child to be. So listen to them and what their interests are, and work with them to sort out their future.
Yeah, I could totally agree with that. Not everybody's parent wants their child to become an entrepreneur, and it can be a bit risky as well, especially from a young age. But I knew that was what I was called to do, and my parents were nothing but loving and supporting with it. And I can only imagine how life would have been if they were absolutely against it. It would be very very difficult, and I'm sure it would create a big strain on the relationship I have with my parents. But thankfully, they're actually all on my side, and they allowed me to grow, and they gave me that room. So I'm living testament to what you just said is actually very very true.
Wonderful.
Very true. Right, so let's move on a little bit further now. So once they've gone past the teenage year, they actually become parents themselves, and a lot of people are in that position. What advice could you give to first time parents, or in particular very young parents who might not feel that they're ready, but they've gone through, they've done the deed and they've come out pregnant, and they don't want to go through the abortion. They actually want to have this baby, and they want to take that brave step to have a baby, even though it's their first time, even though they're probably still young themselves, and even though they haven't got it all together. What advice could you give to someone coping or someone in that situation?
I mean, certainly I would encourage parenting classes, but also my A to Z, as I said, is so accessible. And, find somebody who you can talk to, who can actually help you with the journey. But with the A to Z, you could work through some of the issues. And that's why I would love that A to Z to go further afield. And I would love to do a recording of it for people who may be struggling with perhaps reading a little bit and so forth.
Mm. Well, thank you so much, Karlene, and your generous gift to the world. Um, you have it here, loads of tips from Karlene. Please connect with her. We'll make details available. If you have any questions, please go directly to Karlene. I know she's very, very open to sharing and helping. And Karlene, I really do hope that your message about parenting and every other rich gift that you have to give to the world actually goes very, very far and spans many, many generations, because we need it. We really, really need it. If you look on the news and all the stuff that people moan about, I think parenting has a big role. There's an old African saying that it takes a village to raise a child, but it's also true that it takes a village to raise a criminal. And I think we all need to play a part in parenting, not just leave parents on their own, but everything does start at home.
I was going to say it's even critical now. What I'm saying now, because of the technology, technology is wonderful. But what technology tends to do as well, it kind of isolate individuals because everyone gets into their devices
Mm.
and no longer learn how to communicate with a wide crowd, negotiate with each other, and doing other things because you're so busy talking to your friends while your mom talking to their friends, while your dad talking to their friends, while your sister, and
Yeah.
therefore you become individual and get stuck in being selfish about your needs.
It's so true. So there you have it. Don't let technology raise your kids. You raise your kids and set them on the right path to fulfill their purpose. Well, thank you so much, Karlene. Once again, thank you for your time, and hopefully we'll be able to catch up again.
I hope so. Thank you very much for
Wonderful.
interviewing me. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure. Take care. All the best.
Okay, bye.
Bye.